Alrighty, so we are on the air.
Already?
Yeah, I figured why wait?
You're right. Let's just get into it.
Exactly. You know, it's late. Obviously, people got places to be, things to do, such as get ready to buy the new pay-per-view tomorrow.
It's happening, so we think. As of right this moment, it's happening.
As of this moment, all the smoke and mirrors has coalesced into one grand illusion.
It's like having all three blue eyes in your hand and activating a conversation card. And I think if this happens tomorrow, it's going to be the best card ever.
It literally is.
It has all the potential to be.
It's like the legends of old foretold of a moment in the future when the stars would align, and through the
After a
chaos,
great purge of disease,
through
the stars would align,
exactly.
and we get the best fight card ever. Who do you think's going to get fight of the night, bud?
Oh boy. I feel like right now, just on paper, it's like I'm kind of inclined to say Justin Gaethje and Tony Ferguson.
Has to be, right?
I mean, on paper, that's kind of what I would say. I mean, Donald Cerrone has got a history of fight of the night bonuses. And depending on how good his fight between Anthony Pettis and himself is, it's entirely up to debate at that point. You know, it's either the main event of the prelims or the main event of the main card, in my opinion. You know, but fuck, you know, there's so many good fights on here.
But if you had to guess.
Yeah, if I just had to guess, it's either the main event of the prelims or the main event of the main card. What do you think?
I think it's going to be, I think it's going to be Francis and Rosenstrike.
That was the third one that came to my mind, yeah.
Because I just think it's just going to be, they're going to get some award in that fight.
They're really going to get something, you know. Knockout of the night, fight of the night, whatever the case.
We can get a submission of the night out of nowhere, you don't know.
Do they even do that anymore?
Yeah.
Oh wow, okay. That's good at least.
It's just like, I'm pretty sure if it's like something crazy, they give it to you now. Like, you can't just get a guillotine.
Oh yeah, you can't just do a rear naked or something like that.
Yeah, like if you throw a twister or something crazy in, then they'll give it to you.
Oh yeah, but at that point you're like getting submission of the year.
Exactly. It's one or the other. You either don't get it or you get it.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, Rosenstrike and Ngannou. That's gonna be a banger. Either way you look at it, dude. Did you see the weigh-ins?
Yes, sir, I did. I watched it literally 5 seconds. I watched it earlier today, and then I watched it 5 seconds before you called.
Bro, Ngannou looks fucking stacked.
He looks like Conan the Barbarian.
He literally looks. I mean, he looks just as good as he always does. You know, in my opinion.
It's like he just oiled himself up just perfectly with the lighting now.
Yeah, and then Rosenstrike doesn't even bother taking his shirt off. You know, it's beneath him. Exactly. He's not even gonna attempt to top that.
He knows he can top it with his hands.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's going to be nice. Oh, man, speaking of the weigh-ins, did you see Jeremy Stevens came in like 5 pounds over?
Who the fuck is that guy?
Exactly. What the fuck is he doing? Like, come on.
Who the fuck is that guy?
I remember I gave Kevin Lee a bunch of shit when he missed weight against Charles Oliveira. But like now, and that was only like 1.5 pounds, you know? This guy's coming in a clean half a weight class.
Hey, you know what they say?
What?
He's a little heathen, you know?
Oh my god. Oh my goodness. See, because it just sucks, because it's like, bro, this is easily going to be one of the biggest fights of your career right now. You know? Main event.
Hey.
What?
Quarantine. Give him a chance.
You know what? I have... What? And look who you're talking to. Look who you're talking to. I have been the front runner. I have been the proprietor of this whole business being stupid. You know? I've been saying since day one, they should not be doing it. This is not fair to the fighters. And if this is one of those instances where Jeremy Stephens got fucked like this, I feel bad for him. That sucks. I have to go back and I have to do my research, but at the end of the day, he was still scheduled to do this. You know?
Hey, you're right. I agree with you.
So you say your piece. You say what you gotta say. I'm gonna look up how far back Jeremy Stephens was even scheduled to do this.
So anyway, what I was going to say was not important because I already forgot it. But I do agree that, we should have been running a few more laps because 5 pounds, we both know from wrestling, you can get that off.
Yeah. But then again, Jeremy Stephens does kind of look like the type of guy who featherweight is as low as he can go.
Yeah, I've never, he's big enough to where he could go one up.
Let's see here.
You're looking up skills there. You're getting a little shabby. I think it's because we haven't done one of these in a while, bud.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, totally. 100%. I don't mean for it to go silent for a second there, but yeah, it just happened. I didn't mean to. Yeah, I mean, dude, I just found something from all the way back in the beginning of April 7th, was when the April 18th card was announced. And Jeremy Stephens and Calvin Kattar were on that. They were scheduled for that. But then again, that's you have to factor in, they didn't know that it was officially going to happen until 2 weeks out.
Yeah.
So I don't know what how that has to factor in.
I'm more surprised that he was the only one that missed one.
I mean, that's why I think I'm a little critical of it,
Which is fair.
Because everybody else, can come in. I mean, I expect people like Tony Ferguson and Justin Gaethje and those people to make that kind of weight, and not
those people.
Yeah. Oh, shut up. You know what I mean. It's just one of those things, for instance, Dominic Cruz hasn't fought in 4 fucking years, and he can make weight.
How fit did he look?
How fit did he look?
Yeah. I want to know your opinion, because I have an opinion, but I want to hear yours first.
I mean, I guess he looked okay, He looked like the way Dominic Cruz usually looks.
I thought he looked a bit bulkier than he usually does.
Yeah. I mean, I couldn't really think of anything negative to say about his physique.
No, not negative at all.
Yeah. I didn't know what you were going for, because when I saw him, I'm looking at a picture of him right now, actually. Yeah, he looks a little bit more bulky in those biceps up in the shoulders,
Yeah, he looks like he's been working out just his core and biceps and stuff. It's just a strange. It just looks different, is what I was trying to get at. Yeah.
I mean, golly, it's so funny how he's got a full head over Henry Cejudo.
Yes, but then Cejudo's so much buffer.
Oh yeah, totally.
He's just a short, little, tiny, round, just a firm-looking dude.
I mean, did you see what he did with those fucking bean bags that he had with him?
The weigh-ins was everything I expected it to be. Yeah, I expected some people to be wearing masks and some people to stand far away from each other, and I was like, well, Henry's there, so Henry's going to do something stupid, pull something out of his hat. He had a pillowcase this time, which I was surprised about, but the pillows were hilarious. I want all of those pillows.
Those pillows are going for thousands of dollars on eBay now.
That's how he's paying for all of the plane tickets and everything. He's actually broke from just making props.
Well, oh man, you want to talk about somebody that actually looked like shit though?
Who?
Fabricio.
Yeah, he's old.
Yeah, that's how.
Olenek was looking great. Olenek never looks great, but he'll choke somebody out.
Olenek looks great in terms of his like the energy he puts off. You know, like he actually puts off this aura of I'm a badass fighter. That's even though he's old as fuck. You know, he's older. I think he's older than Verdum almost.
Is it?
They might be neck and neck, but I don't know. But anyway, Olenek, you know, he puts off this aura of a very confident, capable fighter, and then Verdum just looks tired, you know.
Yeah, I'm sure he's got something going because he got punched a lot.
Yeah, he's got to be on his way out soon. Like, there's no way he can keep doing this. And
needs that money.
Yeah. I know you don't like him, but Greg Hardy looked pretty good.
I want it so bad.
Yeah, but the Castro though, he puts off that vibe, man. He's gonna knock somebody's ass out.
That Andy Ruiz vibe.
Yeah. He's pretty spooky. He's a pretty spooky man. You know, he's
I get it.
Huh?
I'll just put something to you.
What's that?
Alright, so if Greg Hardy wins again, I'm not going to talk any more smack about him.
Okay.
If he wins this fight, because he's not, like, the last two fights have been, like, disqualifications, right?
Something like that. Let me pull it up, just to be sure. I remember he lost to, help me out here. Volkanov? You know what I mean. He lost to him by, God, I want to say decision. Excuse me, sorry. Decision, I want to say. Yes.
Yeah, but I think he lost points. I think that was the Inhaler fight.
No, I think the Inhaler fight was right before that.
Well, you got the computer in front of you. What you got?
Yeah, I'm telling you. I
thought that was the one that the Inhaler was like in the third round or something.
It says right here, and it says right here, third round, 5 minutes, no contest, disqualified.
So that's the
Inhaler or something. And then right after that, he fought again, like a month later, against Volkov, and lost via unanimous decision. That was the same card as Zabit in Qatar.
Oh, okay. I get this confused so much because Greg Hardy it feels like every single fight there's something stupid.
Yeah, totally. I mean, he broke his hand in that fight.
Yeah, that's what it was. Okay, so there's the Inhaler fight, then he broke his hand. I remember now.
Yeah, he blocked a kick, a head kick, and I guess it just caught his wrist or something in a weird way, and it just broke it.
What's his record right now?
5-2.
Very interesting.
Yes, and I think it's
5-2-1.
It should be 5-2-1, but for some reason on his record, right, I'm looking at right now, they're not counting the disqualification on his NC record, even though I'm looking at his entire record in detail, and it goes win, loss via disqualification, win, disqualification but no contest, loss, unanimous decision.
Okay, so they count one of his disqualifications as a loss and one as a no contest?
No, I'm saying they don't count yes, they do count one of the disqualifications as a loss, but then they don't even count the other disqualification.
Weird.
Yeah, I don't know why. It's not being factored in for some reason, but
I want it so bad. I want just one time for Greg Hardy to just go on his ass.
Yeah. Here's the thing, and I know you don't want to admit this right now unless he wins or something against De Castro, but the thing about Hardy is that he actually He actually is really tough. He's actually putting in a lot of work, and
that's how he is. But at the same time, it's one of those things where it's just like, how are you gonna keep embarrassing the sport?
I know, right? It's like you already embarrassed the sport of football. You already embarrassed, right. and you just continue to run the name of UFC into the mud. You know, because I mean, like, how many more times can he, cheat in a fight or do something to get disqualified before he just gets cut? You know.
There's only two moments where I was just really disappointed, and it's like every Greg Hardy fight, and then it was like when Ben Roethlisberger was just like continuously kicking skyscrapers and us.
Oh yeah, dude, that was tough to see. That was really bad. And
I was like, oh my god, this is like the most embarrassing thing I've ever seen.
And I mean, it was like 3 times too. It wasn't like consecutive, but it seemed like every round. You know, he was just.
Every time he threw a kick, I was like, oh, there it goes.
Yeah, but I mean, like, then we were trying to, like, as we were watching it, it's like really hard to try and. He's trying to, like, kick to the body, but the usual area in which, he would normally be kicking. Tall. Yeah, the guy's so tall. For one thing, Ben Roethlisberger can't even get his fucking legs that high.
Yeah. And then if you're trying to go for a thigh kick, then his thighs are also way higher than they usually are, too.
Yeah.
So it's like you have a very specific window where you can't be either, but you keep missing.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know how he keeps, hitting right to the groin every time, but that's besides the point. But yeah, and then, when it comes back to this card with Greg Hardy, DeCastro, he's one of those guys. He beat the shit out of the up-and-coming new guy who models himself after Mark Hunt. God, what the fuck is his name? You know who I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, I always mix them up with another guy because they both have those Islander tattoos, like the actual tribal stuff on their legs and stuff, and I always mix them up because they have almost the same tattoos.
Exactly. That's why I say he's that guy that looks like Mark Hunt. That is obviously trying to look like. He
does look like Mark Hunt, and then he also looks like the Bam Bam guy that I always forget. That Tai Tuivasa is who he looks like also.
His name is Justin Tafa.
Yeah, Justin Tafa, because I always get him confused with Tai Tuivasa.
Right.
Because they both have the Islander legs tattoos.
Right. Yeah, he had a good last fight back in February during the John Jones Dominic Reyes card.
It's a good one.
Yeah. Before that is when he lost to DeCastro. But he's good. He's a good up-and-comer. I really look forward to seeing what he can bring to the table. Anyway.
DeCastro.
Yeah, DeCastro. He's a dog. He's a straight dog. 6-0. Dude, I mean, like, when I think about Greg Hardy, like, here's the thing. Just based on the few things I've seen from DeCastro, it looks like he's just going to bulldoze Greg Hardy. It looks like he's going to absolutely just wipe the floor with him. And I don't mean like it's going to be entirely one-sided. I just mean that when it comes to who I think is going to be able to knock who out, it's going to be DeCastro. I feel like a lot of people are counting DeCastro out right now.
Because they didn't know a lot about him.
Exactly.
And I don't even know a lot about him, but I've seen some of his replays and whatnot, and I know he's got some hands.
Yeah, I mean, the only problem I see with DeCastro are usually the same problems I see in Greg Hardy, like bad cardio, But this I'm saying it right now, Greg Hardy, he looked pretty fucking good in that weigh-in.
He does look pretty good right now, but
I saw the ads
on the planet.
Yeah, and
but some of those heavyweights just fight like that, and they're really good.
Yeah, I mean, DeCastro, he's got that same kind of body like DC does. But I mean, like, basically, he's a knockout artist. You're looking at 2 knockout artists. It's cool to see 2 heavyweight bouts in the main event, and each person in there is a knockout artist.
That's just how heavyweight fights are most of the time. It's crazy whenever you see like a Derek Lewis fight or something go all the way.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
It's just like those guys, like their cardio isn't great, but they just did 15 minutes, which is hard for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, this is, but yeah, I mean, this is a really good looking card. You know, this is genuinely the kind of stuff that people usually sit around and like drink and they like talk to their buddies about like what would be their fantasy card, like realistically, you know, based on where everybody's at. I mean, obviously, I didn't expect Dominic Cruz to actually be back for this, but he's back.
Me either. That was the most wild thing.
I mean, like that just for me that just came out of nowhere. You know?
It did for everybody else.
Like how that went from like just a fucking tweet to reality.
That's why Twitter is important in this game right now.
Yeah, I mean that's just, dude.
Like if you have two guys that get 1 million retweets off of one thing, there's like, well, that's 1 million people that could buy a pay-per-view.
Exactly, and then that's like $80 million or some shit. It's pretty big. It's pretty big.
I'm appreciative of the fact that the undercard could be a main card somewhere else, like at a different point in time.
100%. I totally see myself just spending like the whole first night watching the prelims. You know?
I got the whole day planned around it.
Yeah. I mean, fuck, you know, Nico Price versus Vicente Luque? That's crazy. Uriah Hall, Jacare Souza, Carlos Esparza, Michelle Watterson, Lexi Olenini, Fabricio Verdum, and of course, probably Cowboy and Pettis, man. Like that's a pretty dope fight there.
That could be a fight night or even a UFC 240. That could have been UFC 249 myself.
Oh, 100%. I mean, maybe it could have been a fight night, but...
No, I mean, like, if it was going the way that everything got planned, and, like, everything happened on April, like, the Tony Ferguson and everything, like, to be fight, like, if everything went through and there was no pandemic, that could have been UFC 249.
Okay, I feel you.
Like, if they got all of these other fights out, like, already, like, if they did Jorge Masvidal versus Usman, like, they were planning...
Mm-hmm.
Like in the main card that just got canceled also, that was like yesterday.
Yeah.
Like it could have been a 250 or something, like if they had one title fight added to it.
I mean, they would have needed to put something there, and that's probably as good as they were going to get.
Yeah. Based
on who was available up to that point. I mean, but in terms of styles, you know, this is a very interesting matchup. You know, I was reviewing earlier a lot of their finishes and a lot of their technique, and one of the things. Oh, for both of them, you know, Cerrone and Pettis.
Yeah.
And I was going through what some other people were saying about, you know, what's their best knockout, what's their best finish, and. You know, I think of Donald Cerrone, and I've probably said this I don't know how many times by now, talking about the man, but he just keeps popping up. He's probably one of the best well-rounded fighters I've seen. Not just in terms of, I wouldn't even say knockout power, because I don't want to give it like a too generic feel, like it's just a one and done. Oh, he's a really good striker. He is.
He's more like a really good combination striker.
Yes, exactly. That's what I was looking for. The technique. He can finish someone from a combo. You know, he can really put the moves on somebody just by piecing together certain strikes and doing it so beautifully. That it won't...
like it's his strength and it's his weakness, because it's like he can knock you out with like a 6-punch combo, but if he can't get that 6-punch combo,
yeah,
like that's where the problem lies.
It's like sometimes it just flies together and it just moves fluidly and it just works sometimes, but then other times it just doesn't really happen, and then you end up getting those moments where Donald Cerrone has to stand there and bang with somebody that he might not really be able to deal with the punishment, you know. You see stuff like that in his Tony Ferguson fight, or his Conor McGregor fight, even, as short as it was, you could definitely see where that problem initially started, with Conor McGregor's initial strike. Excuse me. But then in conjunction to that, really solid technical combination striking, he's a BJJ black belt. He's super, super good. We've seen some crazy submissions. We've seen him move to an armbar, while in the air. We've seen him, submit plenty of guys. Of course, he has his weaknesses, like, we've talked about his weakness to gut shots before. We've briefly touched on the psychological, element that seems to cater into a lot of these things. I don't think it'll really be an issue here. If he loses, well, hopefully it'll be like when he lost to Tony Ferguson, like he was giving it his all, but he ended up just losing anyway. And then on the flip side to that, you have Anthony Pettis, who is a great knockout artist. He is a great...
Also, he's submission specialist.
Exactly, I was about to say he's great. He's got fantastic jiu-jitsu. I've seen him throw some really mean triangles before. He's got one of the greatest advantages I've seen in MMA when it gets utilized in the right moments, is that he knows when he gets put into a corner or he gets put into a specific circumstance, he can turn it around in his favor in like a second,
In the most dynamic way.
In the most, like, almost staged kind of way,
It's like it's just sometimes it's showtime,
Exactly, and that's a perfect example, his Showtime kick, or better yet, when he was fighting Stephen Thompson. We've talked about that on the show before.
Good old Superman punch.
Yeah, exactly. Being able to play off the side kick from Stephen Thompson, and then fall backwards, bounce off of the cage into a Superman punch, and immediately knock your opponent out. That is like a 2-second course of events that completely changed the entire course of the fight. That was a very even fight up to that point, and then just, well, bam, it just flew out of nowhere. And when I think about that, I think of Anthony Pettis as a superior striker to Donald Cerrone. I think that Donald Cerrone has got a little bit more dexterity than Anthony Pettis. Anthony Pettis has a little bit more resourcefulness, however, than Donald Cerrone. Like we said, Donald Cerrone needs to be able to work with his combos, to be able to make headway. Anthony Pettis can turn a bad situation into a good situation at the turn of a hat. It's a pretty interesting matchup. That's why I think I'm so interested in it, and I've taken this extra time to just analyze it like this, because I think that these two are going to be able to play off of each other's strengths and weaknesses, and it's going to be a very balanced, very even fight.
It's a very unexpected rematch.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy. It's.
But I'm excited for it.
I'm excited too.
It's a good matchup.
It's good to see Cowboy actually back at it. This is something that I don't think anybody wants to just talk about right now, but should Cowboy even be back at all? I feel like I have to bring it up, dude. People are going to be asking the same thing.
It's his life.
It is his life. I'm not personally saying that he should or he shouldn't. He's his own man. He can do whatever he wants. But we talked about this before he even fought Conor McGregor. What was the thing we always were saying? If Donald Cerrone loses, we always suggested, one of the first things we always suggested was retirement.
I just don't think he's gonna.
I mean, I don't know.
Like, I remember saying that and being on that boat for a while, but from, like, how he's just, I feel like he's gonna keep going for, like, 5 more years, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. I mean, he really did take that loss to McGregor in stride, you know?
Yeah, and I don't think he took too much damage other than the broken nose.
Yeah, I mean, really, here's the thing.
It seemed like the last 3 losses, he definitely lost, but it didn't seem like he took too much damage from each of them.
Right. No,
and they were all different, like he got his eye swollen, and they had to stop it from doctor stoppage. He got knocked down, and pretty much knocked out, but not all the way, and then he broke his nose pretty much and couldn't continue.
Yeah, 100%. And, you know, when he lost to McGregor, one of the first things I thought was, you know, he lost in such a bad way. I was like, that's it, you know? Like, that was the fight that just ended your career.
Nope.
No, yeah, exactly.
Now he's going to come back and he's going to kick Hernandez's ass. Go Cowboy.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying, man. Go Cowboy. Because here's the thing. At the end of the day,
they both had really weird, like, last 2 fights.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, they both have lost recently, which is why they're so low on the card.
Yeah.
But, like, it could be fight of the night at any moment.
Oh, yeah, totally. And with Donald Cerrone, like, the thing about him is that it doesn't matter if his last fight he lost in, like, under a minute. You know, it's Cowboy. People are still going to tune in and watch him.
I'm a cowboy.
Exactly. I mean, he's legitimately that good. Jesus. Are you done? Are we finished? Oh my God. Oh man. But you know what I'm saying when I say
I'm on your side for sure.
You and I are just ecstatic about him even coming back at all. So yeah, that's definitely a fight to look forward to. Go Cowboy.
I was so glad we caught your reaction on one of the last videos where I was just like, look at the main event.
Oh, I know, dude. That's more exciting than Dominic Cruz coming back.
They're all gonna be so great. I can't wait. I'm just so happy that there's something normal happening.
Yeah. All right.
And we get more content, so it's a win-win.
Oh, I know, dude. I can't wait till next week's podcast when we get to go over the results.
So, what do you think's bigger for Masvidal than Kamaru Usman?
McGregor.
And Dana White's words.
Wait, I'm sorry. Repeat that.
Dana White said, "I got something bigger planned for Masvidal." What do you think that is?
McGregor.
I got a counterpoint.
Oh, really? I'm intrigued. Yeah. I'm intrigued to know.
So, I was listening to the JRE MMA show, right?
Yeah.
And Brendan Shaw said an interesting thing that I wanted to bring it up. I'm not sure if I believe it, but it sounds intriguing, and I just want to get your thoughts on it.
Okay.
Nick Diaz.
Nick? Yo! Okay, so, like, you say that, and...
You got some thoughts?
Okay, yeah. Okay, so, this... I want people to get some context real quick. So, obviously, Jorge Masvidal defeated Nate Diaz via doctor stoppage in November, right? Yeah, in November of last year. I'm sorry. I don't know. Oh, I just brain farted that. And he beat him by doctor stoppage. Whatever. He went on. He's a badass motherfucker now. He hasn't fought in a while. But immediately after that, people started making all these jokes about how, like, Nick Diaz was going to come beat his ass now because, you know, Nate's just like, big brother, and then, like, Nick, you know, exactly, like, Nick descends from the clouds and comes to lay the fucking smackdown on Masvidal. Exactly, and it was one of those things where we joked about it, but we didn't think it was that serious. Well, then afterwards, after the fight happened, like a week later, or like 3 days, whatever, we hear rumors about Nick being a little curious, getting back into the game, and he gets curious. And one of the things that he is like thinking about is, hey, yeah, I'll fight Masvidal. I don't give a shit. But he's still like banned from like combat sports, and we don't know when that would ever be lifted or go away, because it's been like 7 or 8 years or something now since he's been banned. But yeah, now if it's being talked about in a serious light, I don't necessarily know. Here's the thing, bro. By the time Nick even comes back, he's already in his 40s.
Yeah.
So
what if?
I don't know, dude. I gotta be honest, and I gotta say, because Nick and Nate fight very similarly. I'll say that Nick is probably a lot more tougher than Nate, but if you factor in how old he is, and you factor in the fact that he hasn't been in combat for like 8 years, I'm not trying to say there's ring rust or anything, because it's just like a bicycle. You never really forget how to fight. Dominic Cruz has been away for 4 years and he's coming back, so it's not like it's impossible. But then you have people like Chuck Liddell, who were gone for the same amount of time, came back to fight for Golden Boy Productions, got knocked the fuck out like they hadn't fought in their entire life. And Masvidal, being in the prime of his life right now, I think he could just trample Nick Diaz.
But would you watch it?
Oh, are you kidding? Dude, that's if you had led with that, I would have just said yes and we would have moved on to the next subject.
I just wanted to hear that, but also, I was going to say, but you had such a good process that I didn't want to stop it, but I'm going to say, what if right after Nate lost, Nick's just been training the whole time, and they're just trying to keep it under wraps?
I mean, that would be dope.
But then when all this happened, Nick Diaz reached out and was just like, hey, you know who would sell fight? Me, motherfucker.
I mean, I don't know. Because I don't know.
It is an interesting thought. I wanted to get some ideas.
I think that's genuinely a good comeback fight for Nick Diaz. I feel like if he was going to come back at all, that's the super fight right there. But if I'm thinking about Masvidal, I feel like his
gotta go with McGregor.
It's either gotta be McGregor.
That's Danny fight.
Because I mean, like, who else is there? Or he could hit up Covington.
Oh, that'd be too nice. Oh God.
Yeah, because I mean, like, because there's a rivalry there. There's history there. Yeah. Here's the thing: the whole Usman-Masvidal rivalry that they got going on, I'm not really into it. I'm not saying I don't believe it, and I'm not saying that it's like fake or something. I just think that it's really forced. It feels really forced to me. In the sense that there was never really anything there to begin with. And
how great would it be if they did have a Colby Masvidal card, and during the press conference or whatever, they both were just trashing Usman?
I mean, that would probably be funny.
Like, they both were just like, hey, can we both just agree, though? That guy sucks. And then they both just, like, they bro out over how much they become friends again over the fact that they both hate Usman.
Yeah. I mean, personally speaking, I think that if you want to look at it like this, you have... Because in the future, at some point, depending on whether or not the Tyron Woodley, Leon Edwards fight ever actually comes to fruition, one of the things that's...
Well, now they're talking about Gilbert Burns versus Woodley.
And that's fine, too, I mean, because fuck Leon Edwards, am I right? Just kidding.
He's been dead to me ever since he ate that 3-piece in a
That's hilarious. But I mean, what I was going to say was at some point in the future, Woodley is definitely going to be getting a rematch. He's definitely going to be getting another shot at the title. And then so I see Masvidal v. Covington as kind of one of those tiebreakers, you know, because Covington just fought for the title, lost. Masvidal is the number 3 contender, and he's already getting there's already buzz about him getting the title shot. But if that,
which they already kind of said was going to happen, but now they're saying something else could happen, which is where Conor comes in.
Yeah. I mean, pretty much, because who knows? I mean, Michael Chiesa has been buzzing for a Covington fight, but I don't know if that's going to happen. I'm not saying that Covington is against the idea, but I mean, like, that's one of those, like, that's another one of those fights where it only benefits Michael Chiesa. You know, there's no reason for Covington to take that fight if it's not with any of the people that he's in the same ranking with. You know, whatever. I mean, that's all aside the point. But I think the main thing that we need to discuss before we sign off today, because I am pretty tired and we're already 40 minutes in.
Gotcha.
Sorry, my soullessness just came out there for a second. But I think the main thing that we need to talk about before we sign off is that it's something that I have maybe been avoiding, and I think now is as good a time as any to discuss it. It's the night before the card, so who do you think's gonna win against Tony Ferguson or Justin Gaethje? And I want to hear your actual in-depth, what you think about when no one else is talking to you and you just are alone with your thoughts and you think about this. Who's winning?
Justin.
Why?
Because I've recently watched all of both of their fights. All of their, like, the combined total of all of the fights they've ever fought.
Okay.
And, like, all the footage there is, even the old fights that are, like, in a backyard.
Yeah.
But I just think that Tony has not been tested this hard yet.
Oh, okay.
Because he's got knocked down quite a few times in his career.
Yeah.
So I think that it just has to, like, there's just a certain percentage that Tony's been knocked down over Justin's been knocked down.
Yeah.
The thing is that every time that Tony's got knocked down, he's found some crazy leg lock or some twirl or some rolling somersault that he's been able to get out of it.
Yeah.
And so it's just a matter of, it's just going to be a war of attrition and who has the best cardio.
Yeah.
Which, at this moment, I believe Tony has the better cardio. But to what extent is it going to matter whenever your legs are just trashed?
Yes. Or whenever you go for a takedown and it's just deflected expertly by Justin. Or
when Justin decides that he is going to wrestle.
Oh, God. Oh, Lord.
Like, if Tony's just pushing the wrestling and Justin's just like, you know what? Let's go.
So you don't think that Justin's going to initiate a takedown or anything?
I think in the Dustin Poirier fight is the only time I've ever seen him in the UFC go for a takedown, and that's when he got rocked.
Okay.
So I think if Tony rocks him or is pushing the wrestling to a certain extent, he's going to go for a takedown. But to my amateur eyeball, I think he's going to be pretty much standing.
Okay. Yeah.
And I think they're both going to rock each other in like the first minute.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, here's the thing. It's going to be like Ferguson eats like this huge power right hand, and then Justin just fucking walks right into a standing elbow, you know, just a straight up just boom, you know.
Uppercuts and leg kicks from all directions.
It's definitely going to be insane, you know, and it's going to be a technical one. I mean, it's going to be a banker, but it's also going to be a lot of head movement, you know, a lot of trying to dodge. I see a lot of great head movement and pacing coming from Ferguson, you know, when he does a lot of his striking, and he comes at you you know, from like when he fights with his just his two hands, it's like he's fighting with like four, you know.
Yeah, because he's got his elbows, he's got his forearms.
Yeah, I mean, like
he's using every inch of everything.
Yeah, and you talked about earlier about he's got really good scrambles. You know, he's got really good cardio. I mean, that's going to be a tough one for Gaethje.
I just think it's going to be the one where Tony walks into one finally.
I mean, when I think about like notable losses when it comes to Ferguson, I think about his loss to Michael Johnson, and how that was like an example of Tony Ferguson kind of faltering to some of the weaknesses that Justin might be able to pick apart, you know?
Yeah, because like he got taken down and rocked in the Kevin Lee fight. Mm-hmm. He got rocked in the Anthony Pettis fight. He got rocked in the Qatar fight. Like there's a lot of times where he gets caught whenever he's doing his untechnical crazy movement stuff that I feel like Justin's just gonna pop him with.
Yeah.
Because you've seen both of them catch body kicks and then like punch the guy in the face while they're holding their leg. So both of them do that. Both of them go for crazy leg kicks. Both of them like to push the pace to a crazy limit. So it's just going to be a bang her.
Yep. Yes, sir. And
this is where just Tony drops off and he never becomes the actual champion. He got the one time, and now it's not Tony time anymore. And Khabib's not going to have to fight him. It's just all downhill from here.
Sadness really makes me sad because I mean I want Tony to win, bro. Like I mean I have nothing against Justin Gaethje. If Justin Gaethje wins, I'm not going to be like pissed about it, you know. But it's like
at the moment in history, it's just another light. An interim champion for Khabib to crush.
I'm just tired of this wave, this wave of negativity that has kind of like wafted over the MMA community and has kind of just like left everybody with this bitter, sour taste in their mouth of now the Khabib Tony fight is never going to happen and we should all be sad about it because it's just a fantasy. It's just a fantasy. It'll never come true, and I don't want that to be the case. You know, I don't believe that.
There's like only a few fights that I'm ever super upset never happened, and I think about them sometimes, and that's like Brock Lesnar versus DC, or like Brock Lesnar versus Junior Dos Santos, which is where Tony Ferguson's tough, like those were the coaches on his tough season.
Yeah. Damn, man. Damn. That sucks ass.
Yeah. Or Tony versus Khabib.
Jeez, man. Jeez.
Hey, sometimes 7 times is a charm.
Dude, I'm telling you, I'm not giving up. I'm not giving up faith. If I sacrifice a lamb every day to the MMA gods, they might hear my pleas.
Hey, all I'm trying to say is if another huge epidemic breaks out the next time they try to fight, we shouldn't try again.
Yeah.
Like, if they try to fight again and, like, a nuke goes off somewhere, let's just stop. Like, it's just escalating every time.
Right. Like, next time is nuclear war. Then the next time after that...
Yeah, the next time after that, Satan comes out of the ground, and you're just like, oh, maybe we really shouldn't have had them try to fight. But then at the end, the world's ending all around them, and they just meet each other on this open battlefield. Yeah. And they go, this is why all of this had to happen. And they just fight it out.
Yeah.
And there's all those people on Earth, and it's just like the scene in Star Wars 3, whenever Anakin and Obi-Wan are fighting in Mustafar, and there's just wildwood fire and demons everywhere, and they're just going for it.
It's like Goku versus Frieza.
Exactly, the whole planet's blowing up. It's 40 episodes.
They've only got 5 minutes. They've got 1 round.
That's gonna last an hour somehow.
Oh, well, I mean, yeah, totally. It has to. You can't. They're moving at the speed of light, so. Anyway, yeah. So that's all I've got for tonight. Hopefully I'll get this up before the card tomorrow starts at
We can just throw it away. It's okay.
10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Check your local.
Yeah, so you're gonna watch the early prelims at 6:30, right?
I'm gonna be at work.
Hey,
Yeah.
I'm not.
Well, I'm definitely going to be up until 4 a.m. watching it, so.
Well, I'll be texting you the whole time you're at work telling you to win.
Wow. Way to go. What a champion.
You're gonna get a play-by-play
What a fucking
of
class
everything.
act.
I'm just gonna send you the video of just whoever getting their hand raised with no context.
Oh my god. Like it's muted so I can't hear like, by unanimous decision.
Yeah, it's gonna be a screenshot of just the after interview.
Jeez.
But it could be the wrong after interview, it could be with the loser, but you're not gonna know.
I'm not gonna know. You're just gonna make me think I know, but I don't really know.
Yeah. And then I might just pull up an old fight that's recent.
You pull up the original Anthony Pettis versus Cerrone.
Yeah, you can tell by like how bad it looks that it's the first one.
Oh man.
You know, he looks like he could be on the Wii box right now.
Excuse me.
That was a good joke, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, sorry. Alright, so this is Garrett signing off, and this is my partner in crime, Mr. Lincoln.
Hey,
Yes.
tune in.
Yes. Tune in next week for our discussion of the results of UFC 249. Fingers crossed if it actually happens tomorrow. And we will catch you guys later.
Wash your hands.